do we have a mandate to do this? Many of us think we have to be trained enough. This should be an area of specialty. It's about dying. Better get the specialists to come in, right? The doctors, the nurses, the social workers, right? But to me, the mandate is for the community to step up and support the caregivers and the patients. Who needs a mandate to do good? If you ask me, we have to give it to ourselves and say, let's do it. You know, if I'm not the one, then who else?
Hello and welcome to today's episode of Quiet Ripples, where we meet everyday Singaporeans who do extraordinary things for fellow Singaporeans. Today we have very special guests, Wai and Jessica from the Compassionate Network. All right, maybe let's have a round of introductions first.
So I'm Wai. I run this charity called the Compassionate Network. Yeah, we started it in 2023. Yeah, with a group of
quite
friends.
recent.
Yeah, just 2 years old. We just turned two
Yeah.
recently. We started it with a group of friends who are really concerned about the support for caregivers who are in their final lap of caregiving, caring for someone homebound, bedbound, and in the last stage of their life. But what's unique to the Compassionate Network is the way we approach the support. Yeah, we talk about super aged Singapore.
Yeah.
So there will never be enough of professional workers, healthcare workers, to support the dying and the families too. We realize that we need the community to come in, and that's where we consider mobilizing volunteers like Jessica to form little circles of care across the different families that we look after. Yeah, and to see them through the final stage of caregiving and right into bereavement.
When you say caregiving, maybe we can have a little bit of definition of what this caregiving can be. Because I think for
I
a lot of people, caregiving can be very different.
I know.
different
yeah,
things.
Yeah. So this is also an area that people have a lot of different understanding of caregiving. Yeah. For some of us, it is the person who stays with the patient and offer physical care, right? So if we define caregiving in that way, a caregiver in that way, then many of our foreign domestic helper will be the main caregivers, right? But caregiving is just that, it's more than just providing physical care. And that's why we come in. My volunteers are not trained in providing physical care, right? But we look at caregiving in a more holistic way. When you want to look at someone's well-being, you have to consider their social well-being too, the psychological well-being, right? Their spiritual well-being, practical needs, etc. So caregiving is all-encompassing. All these different aspects should be considered when we look at caregiving. But if you say caregiver, it could be, many people who chip in to take care of the person who needs care, the care recipient, in a family with different children, right? Caring for a senior parent. A son may be the one who ferry the father for medical appointments. The daughter may be the one who get food, and another one may be taking care of the physical stuff and all. So each of them can be doing different things, and they are all doing caregiving activities.
I think drawing on that, because based on my personal experience, because my grandparents, they've since passed, but back when my mom was caregiving for my grandparents. So my grandpa fell, it's very sudden. He fell and everything changed. He's just a different person. He used to be super fit and he goes for walks every day. He's fit, but just one fall, he tripped over something and that was it. And I think he hit the back of his head. So even memory-wise, he couldn't remember a lot of people. So it was quite hard. But my mom had has 3 siblings. So they took turns, and because one of them drives, so they would help with things like that. So, but because I'm the only child, and my mom is also growing old, so I think I'm getting a bit worried about that aspect because they had a huge support versus where I'm just alone.
I know. Yeah, tell me
And
that.
at some point, they managed to hire a helper. So there was a lot of people taking care of my grandparents.
Yeah.
Versus now I'm alone, that's why I think Compassionate Network is really, really helpful for people like me.
Yeah.
At some point, eventually, I will have to be that person.
Yeah, so this is
Yeah.
the trend that we are seeing, the demographic shift. Families are getting smaller. Yeah, the seniors prefer when they are still active
Yeah.
and mobile, they prefer a very independent way of lifestyle.
Yeah, they want to do things on their
Yeah,
own
yeah,
and
yeah. And we all live apart from our parents,
yeah.
right? When we grow our own family and all that. So caregiving can be very challenging if you are alone and
Yes.
then you consider you maybe, have a set of parents to take care of. Yeah. And who can you tap on really?
Yeah.
Yeah. When you just need someone to discuss care decisions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
decisions.
Talk
It's,
things through. It's not so much only the physical
yeah.
care part of things. Yeah.
Well, we've talked a lot. Maybe Jessica, you can introduce yourself. You haven't introduced.
Yeah, I'm a volunteer with Compassionate Network. Before I joined, it was like a mid-year career change. I was in education. Yeah. So after joining I met with this big group of social worker in palliative care, very inspiring. That's why I really wanted to continue in this line to support the serious ill patient. But in the process of it, I realized that the caregiver really were the one that is feeling the fatigue. Like just now you mentioned,
Yes.
it's really real. And when she, decided to have this network to aim and support the caregiver, I really think, yes, please include me.
Yeah.
So that's where our journey started.
Also, you met before the Compassionate Network started.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
That's what a network is about.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
just reach out to friends,
Yes.
people I know, and say, "Can you help?" And they will help me reach out to others. Yeah, I'm a trained palliative care social worker.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, so by training, I'm a social worker. Yeah, so for the many years that I have supported dying patients and caregivers and families in hospices and in the community, I realized that's the gap there, right? We focus a lot on providing professional care. We focus a lot on the patient, but to make care holistic, we should actually look at family as a unit that needs support, not only the patient. Because a family with someone who is sick, yeah, is really going through a lot.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not only, we call it the collateral damages, right?
Yeah.
Everybody gets affected. So if we take a more holistic view, we should support the whole family. Thinking behind why we do this, right? Really to build a compassionate community. We can't depend on the shortage of healthcare workers to deliver care. And death should not be medicalized. Dying is not only about giving medicine, controlling the symptoms, yeah. There are many aspects of being human, and the whole dying experience should be as holistic as possible. So we recognize that. We recognize the volunteers as the service model that we want to use. Yeah, we don't employ a lot of staff. There are just 2 or 3 of us, but really we rally the community.
What forms of support do you provide?
I think that gets me going into another
Deep dive.
lecture. Many people think caregivers are homogeneous, but they are not.
Yes.
Right? Every caregiver has different sets of needs. Every family has different sets of needs. So when we say we don't provide physical support for the patient, that's because we have a lot of formal schemes that are already doing that. Yeah, the home personal care, you have people coming in to help with nursing, help with showering. So
Yeah.
that's really not something that we want to take over. It's already available. But what is missing now in caregiver support is really the social and psychological aspect of the caregiver's well-being. Yeah, they're usually very isolated because they spend a lot of time at home caring for the loved ones. They hardly have a social life, right? And this aspect is what we think the volunteers can come in to provide and
Yes.
really offer.
Yeah, maybe we can hear from volunteer perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to add
Your
on
journey.
to that. So we always look at the before. So the patient is still alive and so forth. Why the caregiver? So there's always this grief, start from even before the patient passed on. So our support is not just end there. So when the patient passed on, there's this bereavement support. And that is because we already built the relationship with them, the support with them. So by the time that we go into that part of the bereavement, it's actually easier.
Yeah.
and they are able to talk to us, and that kind of support. In current situation, let's say hospital, where patient die and that's it end there, right? Or hospice, So, and yet we, as a volunteer, in the network, we could continue that, which is currently, what we are doing now for some of our families.
Okay. And how? So that goes all the way. So do you have just one volunteer for one caregiver? Is that how
no.
it is?
So volunteers are very precious to me. Okay, my hidden agenda of starting the Compassionate Network, secondary agenda is to build future caregivers too. So volunteers are my service user in a way. So they actually come in my mind, I'm offering service learning for them, right? Some of them are already caregivers themselves. So they get to see other aspects of caregiving and the different things that they can offer to current caregivers. But many of my volunteers, they are new to caregiving. And when they join and serve other caregivers, they get to learn. And hopefully by the time, when the time comes that they have to be caregivers themselves, they will have the knowledge, the domain knowledge of how to approach it. Yeah. That's the way I look at my volunteers.
I like the way they have done also. They don't just send one volunteer. So usually it's 2 or 3. So it's a very good support. I mean, from other volunteers that I have been in, I find that sort of helping each other. In the process of it, we actually support each other.
Yeah, actually it's very
intentional.
important.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Because if you're working alone, right?
Exactly.
It's very isolated, and you're expected to give that support to another
It's
support
a lot
system.
Of burden.
Yeah, it's a lot of burden. It's
it's
very tiring. It's very emotionally draining as well for the volunteers if you're alone.
So we're quite unique in this way. We form what we call family resource team. Or in a very layman term, it's just circles of care. So we will identify 3 volunteers, kind of match the needs and requirements of the family. Usually the caregiver is where we focus, where they stay, what language they speak, similar hobbies or interests, etc. Then we will introduce these 3 volunteers to one family. And the volunteers then will journey with the family throughout, right into bereavement, as Jessica has pointed out. It's not necessary for all 3 of them to visit all the time. So they can rotate among themselves, to either visit the homes, and sometimes when the patients are admitted to the hospital, they also would visit the caregiver and the patient in the hospital, or even bring them out.
Bring the caregivers out.
Yes,
And the patient
out
together.
Right. This is likely a good location that you can consider. She has done a few
Very
of these
quiet.
outings. Yeah, we will arrange the transport. Usually they are very afraid to get out of the house because of their condition, and the caregivers don't feel up to it to bring the patient out. They have a lot of fear. They are very worried that they might harm the patient, or there may be some risk that they couldn't mitigate. But with the support of volunteers, it gives them the confidence to and the manpower to organize trips out of the house. I think she has done visits. You want to share about your
very
visits?
memorable. One thing that they did was they do video, photograph. I think those are very important memories. So when the patient passed, the caregiver, family look at the video, they feel very comforted. I think that's the part where I think is really good.
Yeah.
How often do you all do the outings?
It depends on the volunteer group.
Also depend on the
needs of the caregiver.
Like for example, there's the first one that we visit. She really wanted to visit Chinese Garden. It's a long time she never seen. So we have to recce, make sure there's toilet, there's AED, there's whatever.
Weather plan.
Weather plan, everything, plan A, plan B, before we can. And also the caregiver comfort, whether is it okay, to go. So it was like, but not only the first trip, after that they want to go for the second trip. So we managed to
I keep going back to Chinese now.
Oh, no. We went to another place.
Different
places.
Recently, I think just yesterday, another group brought a mother and daughter to the Garden by the Bay, right? They wanted to go to the Flower Dome. Both of them are on wheelchairs. So on their own, they wouldn't be able to go to the garden for the first time.
So the caregivers also in a
So it's a 80-plus-year-old mother taking care of a 60-plus-year-old daughter
Oh.
with organ failure, right?
Wow.
So they can't move on their own outside of the house without the use of wheelchair when they have to walk very long distance. So we organize the wheelchairs and all, and the vehicles also to bring them out. Yeah. Others could be simpler, like having a meal, yeah, going down for a walk, sitting, just outside at the playground just to watch children play. Very normal, routine things that we take for granted.
Yeah.
But for the patient and the caregiver, it takes a lot of effort for them to do that without the help of the volunteers. So the volunteers come in very supportive in that way. It's not confined to just chit-chatting at home, but yeah, also attending to different needs,
Yeah.
like dropping them off for medical appointments, picking up medicine for them, yeah, and buying food, all this.
Where do you take your caregiver support to?
Yeah. I think we are unique in that way, the Compassionate Network, when we compare ourselves to different groups that are supporting caregivers, because we focus on the final lap of caregiving and beyond caregiving, how to transit from the role of a caregiver to a world without their loved ones, and then you have to relinquish that role. Yeah. So different bereaved caregivers have different kind of support needs. Some of them need a lot of help with practical aspect. I think Jessica has supported one that needs help with going to the HDB to update the ownership. Yeah, going to town council to apply for gyro, having the house being the rooms being rented out so that the bereaved caregiver could have income. So it can range from things like that, estate related matters, to really missing the loved one. Like I was supporting another lady who would share that the house is no longer a home because she doesn't have anyone to cook for anymore. And yeah, the kitchen is just
Empty.
there empty. She doesn't have to wash up, prepare food. So when the volunteers went in to support her, we intentionally arranged with her to visit during lunchtime. And she will be very happy to cook up a
So
storm
she
for
can
us.
cook for them.
Exactly. So eating mealtime to her is a social experience. It's not only about filling the stomach and killing the hunger. So different bereaved caregivers might have different needs. Yeah. Some would be looking at, okay, how do I get back to the workforce? Yeah. Others is like, oh, I've been away from friends for too long. Can I go back to my community, go back to the church, go back to the temple that I used to visit? Yeah, so helping them with the transition is also part of our support too.
What types of, because I know we're talking about end of life and we're focusing a lot on aging population, but that's not the only group that you provide support for the caregivers, right?
I would say the caregivers themselves come from a very wide age range. I have caregivers who are in their late 20s and caregivers who are in their 80s. So caregiving is not a role that they have chosen, right? It's something that just fall onto their lap. Although it's a choice, they can still decide. Yeah. So the challenges for me when I look at this range of caregivers of different age group is that life stage needs can be held back or compromised because of the caregiving responsibilities. Yeah. Someone late 20s trying to start family, going to chiong in their career,
Yep.
suddenly have to say, okay, I have to hold back everything and provide full-time care for my parents. Yeah. Others in their 80s are like, I'm willing to take care of my spouse, but I'm unable physically to do so. So their challenges are again different.
Okay, maybe let's transit to Jessica and the volunteer perspective.
Sure.
Yeah, when did you start or how did you get into volunteering?
So I think I was around 50. I was
Wow.
in education and climbing the corporate ladder to a point where I start to feel emptiness. Something like you missing. Yeah. So I think that's the part where I decided to branch out. So I managed to get another career in education, but palliative care. So it helped me to meet up with very different people, nurse, doctors, social worker, to understand their work and their support for people with serious illness. So as I mentioned just now, this group of people are the group that really inspired me. So I decided to take up the course, graduate diploma in social work, to gain the skill. And I start volunteering in hospice and hospital, to get to know and how to support such patient better. Yeah, that's how I went in. But honestly, during the process of early volunteering, I do realize that the caregiver are the one that kind of really need the care. But a lot of time, our engagement is always with the patient. And if they are in the hospice, chances is that they are quite sick. So the kind of care is more physical, helping the nurse to live out, helping doing this and that, So the communication is less. And caregiver, we as volunteer is hard. We wouldn't have the opportunity. That's why when YE started this, I find that, wow, that's good. And somehow we go into their home. Because the home is the most real. Not like hospital, not like hospice. Home is where they feel so natural. So when I first started, I realized it's really good. I can really engage there at that very real level. And they are able to open up much more. Now, so far, in about a year plus, right, I think the kind of experience has been very meaningful.
Any memorable?
In TCN?
Not any form of volunteering that you...
I think I ever volunteered in the hospice with a very aging, elderly woman. So she's at a point where she starts hallucination and start calling her mother, She looked really like my mom, late mom, that time, just passed on. So the memorable part is there's a lot of transference. And I love to go to her. There are many people in the ward, but I just love to go to her. But it's really a lot of transference. So there is a lot of pain. Wanting to talk to her, wanting to help her. I wasn't afraid when she tell me, wow, her relative there actually is nothing. Her helper at the side was very scared. But I wasn't. But I must say it's memorable, but it's painful. So it's like kind of a lot of remembrance of my mom. And I really just want to hold her, talk to her, and trying to reconnect like as if I'm talking to my mom. Yeah, that is the memorable one.
And do you remember the first time you joined TCN?
Yeah, it was, I think we go into a case where a patient still very lively, chatty, talk a lot. But I noticed the caregiver was super quiet. Like when we were talking, she was just on her phone, ignore us, So I was really the challenge. I said, how are we going to get through? One part is language, because she cannot understand anything except Hokkien. And our Hokkien are okay there, but not deep enough. So we tried. So I must say that that beginning, I felt that challenge. And we continue. Every time we go, we are literally talking to the patient. So that's where I start questioning, are we really supporting the caregiver? So that was the starting. But I must say from then to now, the patient passed on. I think the support that continue. So it's not instant gratification where you see the issue solved. No, it's actually continuously. When the patient deteriorate, go into hospital, go into community hospital and so forth, we continue to show our support. And she slowly opened up. More and more she started talking to us. Even until now, recent when I met her, I was on the road walking with her. And she was able to talk about late patient, her husband. She was able to say that, hey, I used to support, now he's in a better place. These are signs where we assess and say, that's good, They open up, they talk about it, something deep in their heart. And I still remember before when the patient was in the hospital, she still tell me, I cannot leave if he's gone. So at that point I was very worried. But to this point, I realized that, hey, there's a change, and she started seeing much more positive. And you can see that she could talk to people. Even when she met the person, newly met the person, she could just talk. So I saw the change. And that's amazing. It's not something that you could see from one point.
Yeah, and that's really important because you came in early. You came in at an earlier stage.
Exactly. So I realized support need to start when everything is still, it shouldn't come. And a lot of time it is like that. I must say a lot of time when something really happened, then they say, hey, let's call in a social worker, call in a volunteer. But it's really tough. But it's because we started early.
When you build that relationship with a patient and the caregivers, and then when a patient passes on, how does that affect you, and what kind of support do you generally feel like you need?
I think that's what I mentioned about going in 2 or 3 is a good thing. So we talk about it. I think that is one way of self-care.
Yeah.
In a way, you kind of process it with each other. So I think that helps a lot. If not, it will be too much transference. Like just now I mentioned that part of it. So I think that helps. Of course, by ourselves, we have to find ways to make ourselves happy. So I do travel. So I do a lot of walking. Okay, so those are times where I have a chance to really relax, think about it, and of course I pray as a Christian. So I think those help me to kind of manage my emotion. Okay, and honestly, we also have to observe each other. Like my volunteer partner, the group mate, if I find that affects her, okay, I have to talk to her about it. So we also have to support each other.
On that note, we do debriefs.
Yeah,
So we
debriefs,
do
yes.
regular reviews. Like if a group has supported a family for 3 to 6 months, we'll come together and say, hey, how are things? Right? How has it been? Yeah, are there any challenges, difficulties? Do you see yourself continuing with supporting this family? What else can we do for them? At the point when the patient pass on, yeah, we will do a review. Right? We ourselves will have a session where we reflect on our own journey with the patient and with the family and our relationship with the patient as well. Once we have that, then we talk about how to support the caregiver. So there are certain junctures along this whole support journey that I will build in the review time, the debrief time with the volunteers, just to check in on them in a more structured way.
What you ask is a very real question. It's not just us. Actually,
not
everywhere, healthcare, there's all
Yeah.
these fatigue because of all the emotional.
I think that is a very hard gauge, right? Because you won't know, you actually don't notice yourself when you sink into the emotional state. Because it's gradual. You don't, it's not instant. And then when the death happens, right? And like you said, the transference, and it's actually a lot to take in. And you still have to be there for the caregiver. You still have to be there for the whole caregiver system. Right? So and you've already built that relationship. So it's hard. It's hard for anyone to lose someone.
I think it's just human.
Yeah, it's human. It's human.
So I won't be too worried about Jessica's transference. I think that makes her human.
Yeah.
Right? That she has a mom, right? And the patient is somebody's mother as well. Yeah. It's just human of us to be able to connect with these universal experiences of loving someone, grieving for someone. And that's precisely what makes the community support strong. Right. I mean, if she doesn't know how to take care of herself, doesn't go for her travel and her solo walks and all that, I won't think she will make a very good volunteer. And she can't go and tell another caregiver, you should take care of yourself. Let's go for a walk, do some travel. Because she won't know how to do that. And something that she doesn't know how to do, she can't possibly be sharing it with another caregiver to do so. So it's a lot of these human exchanges that we sometimes didn't see the value. We think that we must always go to the professional and ask for professional support. Yeah, but that's not true. The community has a lot of wisdom and people around us have a lot of lived experiences that could offer the caregivers and the patient.
So are there some challenges you all face as a new charity?
As any new charity, we definitely face challenges because we are new and we need to establish ourselves. I think not only that, but because we are in this business of caring for the dying, not many people want to talk about the topic, be associated with an area of work like that. And say, oh, volunteer. Now, I can volunteer with children, with youth, but with caregivers and dying, it's not very sexy. So that's the perception, trying to explain to people what we do. Caregivers too, many people think that, but we have enough of resources from the government, right? To provide this grant, that schemes, to support the patient. Or why do we need to support caregivers? So this idea of supporting caregiver too and providing them social and psychological support is even more mind-boggling for many people. So I think that's another challenge, right? Another aspect is the mandate. right? Do we have a mandate to do this? Many of us think we have to be trained enough. This should be an area of specialty. It's about dying. Better get the specialists to come in, right? The doctors, the nurses, the social workers, right? But to me, the mandate is for the community to step up and support the caregivers and the patients. Like Jessica has mentioned earlier, we don't spend a lot of time talking to the doctor. The nurse will maybe visit once a month, right? But most of the time, the patient and the caregivers, they are in the community. Who needs a mandate to do good? If you ask me, we have to give it to ourselves and say, let's do it. If I'm not the one, then who else? Yeah, if we all wait for a mandate, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So I think there's this challenge too, to explain to people, you don't have to wait for people to tell you you can do this, right? Just come forward, step up to do it. Yeah. The other challenge also comes from the professionals themselves, the specialists, because they take a different lens. They are very careful about the safety of the patient, whether there's a risk of the volunteers going in and doing harm. I think these concerns are valid, but we cannot be too risk averse, right? Well, if you are a new mother, you've never gone for a training or a specialist course to be a mother. If you're a caregiver, you're being thrown into the role.
I was just want to highlight the part where even though a lot of the volunteers are not so-called went for the training, but I hope people understand that the training for social work is very general, because social work cover many areas, not just in medical aspect. We have children violence, domestic and so forth. So our training is just a guide.
What kind of ripple effect do you think what you're doing now has on our community?
Everything that I'm doing actually will cause ripple effects, if not tidal waves.
That's what we want, right? The tidal waves, bring the waves
into the community. We start really small, right? I mean, we are only 2 years old. And I think slowly, one caregiver at a time, one patient, one family at a time, we are creating that effect, right? I have volunteers who introduce friends. I have volunteers who bring their family along to volunteer, right? When I reach out to the corporates, then they realize, okay, they can also give in different ways. I see myself and our team as the one who want to create that ripple effect. But I can't do it alone, right? I need the little ripples to amplify the effect, like people like Jessica and all, and also through the caregivers and patients themselves. My wish is, if ever any caregiver we have supported will come back to me one day and say, now, I'm ready to be a volunteer to support another family. Wow, right? That is, it's just a ripple effect. Yeah, that ripple is a golden ripple to me. That will be my wow, that will make my day. Yeah.
It's not macro because mine is really at the volunteer level, more micro. So I think that because of what I do, people are interested. So around me, a lot of them are going to retire or retired. So they after they hear from me, they kind of get inspired. They say, yeah, I want to do volunteering. So not all may want to do the same thing, but at least it kind of ignite in them that they want to give back to the society, in different ways. I think that is the part I would say that is the ripple effect. Showing yourself as a possibility, you can do it. I can do it also.
Thank you so much, Jessica Wai, for joining us today. We spent so much time talking about everything: Compassionate Network, Compassion Community, Passionate Communities. And maybe you can let us know where you can join us. If you want to look for Compassionate Network, this is where you look.
Yeah, that's our website. Yeah,
website?
It's www.pcn.sg. Yeah, please volunteer with us. Sign up as volunteers.
Thank you for joining us today. And if you've liked our content, if you've liked our podcast, remember to hit like, share, and subscribe. Red Dot Stories. We're on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Bye.